All right, my friends, welcome back to the Reisinger build. Man, a ton of progress on the outside, as you've seen, but today is where we make some progress on the inside. We got a lot of cool stuff happening. Let's go check it out. The crew got here about 30 minutes before me, and I have a feeling that they've actually gotten further than I'm expecting. Holy cow. The crew's been working for 45 minutes, and it feels like we've got a third of the house done. We're gonna be talking slab top insulation today. We're gonna be covering this with subfloor, and then we're gonna be framing interior walls. We got a really exciting episode for you. The Reisinger build in partnership with our friends at Builders FirstSource. Let's get going.
A Build Original Series in partnership with Builders FirstSource. The Reisinger build.
So you're wondering, why is Matt not wearing shoes today? Well, here's a quick example. Have you ever been out on concrete on a hot, sunny day? Woo, woo, it's hot, it's hot. That concrete soaks up the heat and holds it. Now the inverse, have you ever walked down the sidewalk on a winter day in your bare feet? Of course not, it would be freezing. You would lose all that heat out of your feet. Now, why do we not insulate our slab on grade foundations in the South? It's just as dumb as going out in the heat of the day or the dead of the winter without shoes on, right? So on the build show today, I'm gonna show you how to eliminate this issue with a really easy step, which by the way is gonna set us up for nail down hardwoods later on, a really comfortable house, a really efficient house, and a really durable house. Okay, y'all, here's the quick order of what you're about to see today. We're gonna take a blower and clean off the slab. Then we're gonna use a bead of Lexel just for a belt and suspenders in between the concrete and the bottom plate to double check that in the future we don't have any bugs or airflow in that critical joint on a house. Then over top of the entire slab, we're basically just gonna float a raft of insulation. We're gonna be using Atlas's Energy Shield XR. This is an insulation that could go below grade, above grade, foundation, slab top. And then on top of that, we're gonna float a layer of subfloor. We're gonna be using Advantech subfloor. This is a really beefy, very heavy 3/4 subfloor. And now things are gonna get interesting. On top of that, we're gonna put a bead of this. This is Advantech subfloor adhesive, all polyurethane. We're gonna put that in a big S shape on top of this Advantech. And then we're gonna finish it off with a sheet of this. This is Advantech X Factor. Then lastly, we're gonna screw these two sheets together, not to the concrete, just to each other. And now we're gonna have an insulated subfloor ready for hardwoods and ready to take our ready frame package and frame those interior non-load bearing walls. Let's go in and have a look. All right, y'all, just like you saw in the previous episode where we did an over roof, this is very similar. On that over roof, we wanted to completely cover over top the entire roof and not have any thermal bridging. This is really similar. On this slab, we're doing slab top insulation. Now, if you saw some previous episodes, we do have some walls in place that were structural walls that need to go all the way down to the concrete and bear onto, in fact, concrete beams that are in the slab. But we tried to leave as much of the house open as possible. Steve Basic, our architect, did a nice job of planning so that most of our structure is bearing on exterior walls. We just have a little bit on the inside. We also did need to install the stairs a little bit early. So when we installed the stairs, we accounted on the first riser for the thickness of this. But what we're putting down here is this product right here, kind of a perfect little offcut. This is an Atlas product. It's called Energy Shield XR. This is a polyisocyanurate insulation. It has a very high PSI. In fact, the PSI is 25 pounds per square inch. And this is R6.5 per inch. So on this particular one, you can actually see it on their chart right here at 1.5 inches thick or R10. That's gonna be a really nice thermal break at the slab. You know, in Texas, 99.999% of slabs are not insulated at all. They're just connected to the ground. which can actually be a little bit of a benefit in the summer because typically ground temps are, let's say in the 50s if you were to excavate down. The big problem for Texas slabs though, or for any slab on grade, is wintertime. This is a huge heat loss and heat sink. At my old house that I lived in before I built my new house, my tile floors that I had that were tiled right on top of the concrete were extremely cold. And even my floors interior to the house, I had hardwood floors over top of some plywood and sleepers. Very, very cold because that concrete was sucking the heat out of my house. And in fact, if you look at an energy calculation for most houses that are slab on grade, roughly 20-25% of the heat loss in the wintertime is from the slab. So being able to put this R10 nearly continuous blanket over the entire floor, it's going to make a huge difference. A couple points on this that I want to make mention of. This is very moisture resistant, less than 0.3% by volume. It can come pre-scored at 16 inches or 24 inches on center if that's helpful for you. And this could be used both below grade, above grade, slab top. There's a lot of options for this. Very multi-purpose insulation. And by the way, it's responsibly manufactured for a long, long time, over 30 years now, with no CFCs, no HCFCs, no HFCs, 0 ODPs, and basically a negligible global warming potential. I believe it's less than 10. And if you look at a similar competitor like XPS, we've got a GWP that only recently has come down to 100 or 150. So this is a very long-standing, very responsible insulation that is not bad for the environment. Now here's how we're installing it. In this particular case, all we're literally doing is putting it down slab top and butting it together. If you remember from our slab episode, we've got a continuous vapor barrier with our Stego. That was that green, or maybe you've seen yellow Stego plastic that's real thick that was down before the concrete was poured. That's making sure that ground moisture isn't migrating through the concrete. So I don't need to use this for a vapor barrier. If you did need to, you would want to tape the seams and you'd want to tape it to the exterior so you had a continuous vapor barrier. And in fact, I did that on my house, but on this one, we don't need to do that. I've got a good Stego below us. So we're simply butting it together. Now the next step is going to be putting subfloor on, and this is a really big deal, especially in Texas. When we put hardwood floors down in Texas, we really like having a subfloor down first. It gives you a little bit of forgiveness on your feet. It gives you a place to nail your hardwoods to instead of a glue down. And this detail that Steve Basic came up with is genius. You're going to see in a minute here, the guys are going to start putting 2 layers of Advantech decking down. Let's let the guys finish up the foam and then we'll pick it back up and we'll tell you about the subfloor detail. Okay, y'all, check it out. It's literally 10 a.m. I had to step out for a meeting at the office. In 2 hours, we laid the entire first floor of insulation. And check this out, without those walls in place yet, you can see really straightforward. Like from here on back, it must have just gone incredibly quickly. I'm looking forward to seeing some of the time-lapse footage because this probably went down really, really fast. It literally is just butted to each other. And like we've got at my feet here, where there's a plumbing penetration, the guys just marked it out, cut around it, and we're good to go. So next step, or actually one step I want to mention real briefly before we get in this, we need to make sure when we're doing this slab top insulation that we've done a really good job of air sealing at the base of the house. If you look back to my framing episode, you'll notice that we did a Steve Basic detail where we put a bead of Lexel down on top of the concrete, put our sill sealer down, and then put another bead of Lexel so that when my bottom plate goes down, we're as sealed as possible. Concrete, even really good flat concrete, has some undulation, and sill sealer alone is intended as a capillary break, not so much an air break, although it can act as an air barrier. So by adding that layer of Lexel in there, that's gonna make a big difference for us for air sealing. Now, I'm a belt and suspender guy, so when we got this slab top cleaned off, we also ran a bead of Lexel on the inside, just as that extra layer of protection. That corner down there, now that this insulation's down, is not gonna see the light of day for many, many decades, if not hundreds of years. So why not go ahead and use that extra step to really get that as tight as possible. So now that that foam is down, you can see the guys are putting the first layer of Advantech down. This layer here is just standard Advantech. This is a 3/4 inch thick material. If you're not familiar with Advantech, this is a really advanced, excellent subfloor. Has a lot of polyurethane glue in it when it's manufactured. And so they make their own subfloor adhesive. It's this purple stuff you can see on the top here that's kind of oozing out, and it's an all polyurethane glue. When we put the subfloor down on the second floor, we literally just nailed it down. We didn't screw it, but those nails in my mind are really acting like a clamp. So that polyurethane is actually butted tight. And once those nails are in place and that polyurethane dries, it's really the glue that's doing all the heavy lifting. And this subfloor has a 10-year warranty to be squeak-free, which means once it's squeak-free for that many years, it's going to stay squeak-free. So what we're going to do here is we're going to use that same polyurethane glue, and we're actually going to glue another layer of Advantech on top of this, but we're going to orient it 90 degrees to each other. So this first layer you're going to see going horizontally towards this outside wall. The next layer is going to be 90 degrees to that, and we're actually going to switch products. We could use another layer of standard Advantech, but I wanted an X Factor floor here, like I've got upstairs, and that's another version of Advantech by Huber that's a little bit more advanced. It's got a coating on the top of it, which makes it really easy to mark on. It makes it even more waterproof, and it makes it really easy to clean. So that's going to be my top layer of subfloor. So when you walk in this house tomorrow, it's going to look like I've got a basement, you know, like this is regular subfloor. You won't know that you're walking on a raft, but they're actually only going to screw that together to the subfloor and not screw down. There's no attachment to the concrete. And then later we're going to come back and take the rest of the ready frame package and frame those interior first floor walls that are non-load bearing. Now we've got a couple of tools that are going to make this a lot easier for us. First off, that Advantech foam comes in a can, and we've got the long reach foam gun, so the guys will be able to stand up to do it. And then next, I've got a really cool Simpson product that I want to show you that's going to make screwing this down easier. So let's let the guys get started, and we'll pick back up and we can start screwing this together. Okay, y'all, a little real world here at the Reisinger build. We started putting our first 2 sheets down. I was shooting a little Instagram story on my phone, and it wasn't until we put the second sheet down, and I was saying, oh, we put these on 90 degrees to the first sheet, and I realized, wait a minute, this is parallel, not perpendicular. So you can see the first 2 sheets were running the same direction. They overlap the seams, which is good, but we really want those to run 90 degrees. We want to overlap from these sheets over and spread that load out as much as possible. However, the good news on that mistake is we can see how nicely the glue coverage is. Look, when we pulled these sheets up, you can see that glue had great coverage. And again, those screws we're going to be putting in with this Simpson screw gun are really just a clamp for the glue. The glue is going to do all the heavy lifting. So we got to straighten out now. We're re-gluing it. We're re-popping the lines. The guys are doing a real smart idea. They popped lines. You can see we did it here, and they ran the glue ahead of time. Here's the third sheet we were just about to lay when we realized we made the mistake, but it allows them to lay the glue within the popped line, and we're running these on about a 1 foot on center. This glue is relatively inexpensive in the scheme of things, so better off having a little bit more glue. And you can see it kind of foams up. This one got laid a minute ago, let's say, but then when that sheet goes down and falls on top of it, it's going to lay that flat, and that's really going to have good adhesion. And we're making fast progress with the screw gun too. Once you get a strip on there, well, that gun just goes lickety split through there. So let's let the guys make some progress, and we'll check back in. All right, we've been working on subfloor for, I don't know, 45 minutes or so. You can see we've got this whole front of the house done. Our little error turned out to be no big deal. Actually, Chewy had a great idea. I was starting to scrape this when it was still gooey, and he said, hey, wait to scrape it till it's been set up for 20 or 30 minutes and then it's kind of hardened. and then you can see it scraped right off. And now we don't have that bubbling. Had we left it, we would have obviously created a squeak potential or a bubble. But in fact, scraping it off after 30 minutes, genius idea. Now we're good to go. All we need to do is put another layer of glue down and continue this along. One thing I want to mention is where we've got pipes, by the way, the guys couldn't have measured it any more precisely. They did a great job on that. But where we've got a pipe, we circled the pipes with that Advantech glue so that now we'll have really good bonding, because I'm worried that, for instance, this is a shower drain right here. We want to make sure that when that shower drain is in place and I'm using all my Schluter system in here, that it's nice and hard. Funny enough, we've got just one spot here. About every 2 or 3 sheets, we get maybe one misfire on that Simpson gun. But other than that, it's been really, really nice. Now, we did vary here, and we went Advantech X Factor. If you're not familiar with this, this is really the same Advantech with an additional bonding layer on it, which makes it really nice. You can write on it with a Sharpie really nicely. It takes chalk lines really well. But the thing I really like about it, especially for my clients, I can really clean it really, really well. So you'll notice as this series continues how clean the subfloor is going to look. Really easy to blow off, to scrape off, to sweep up. And that yellow facer makes the job site bright and, like I said, super, super clean. So 240, we usually quit around 4. I bet we're going to get at least half, if not 3/4 of this subfloor done in one day. Let's let the crew keep going. We'll catch up a little later. There he is. What's up, Justin?
Hey, Matt. How you doing?
Good to see you, brother. Thanks for
Good to see
coming
you.
by.
Thanks for having me.
So, guys, if you don't remember Justin, he spent a ton of time with us in the first couple episodes on the pre-planning. And Justin, all that time and effort pre-planning has really paid off on the job here.
Absolutely. It looks fantastic out here.
So we're almost ready for trades, and I'm excited to see how our pre-planning for trades worked out. But in terms of ready frame, all the pre-planning we did on the framing, it's really coming together on the job site. As you notice, we've got rooftop foam on now. The guys are forming the soffit and fascia. But one of the things that I think is really interesting, Justin, about digital tools is that even in this rough stage of construction, I don't have a buyer for this house. If I did, they would have a hard time seeing it. Tell these guys about how digital tools can help builders like me to really visualize what the house is going to look like.
All right, so we have the new platform, you know, at mybldr.com for really, as a customer being Builders FirstSource, we're giving you a revolutionary new platform to really help you run your business, right? So, and we look at it for not only the pre-planning, the pre-construction we've done being a critical part of that, but also in the platform, we've given you a scheduling tool. You've given us your schedule. We've been able to load that up. And, you know, knowing natively, we look at schedules in different ways, whether it be a Gantt chart view, a calendar view. We're able to give you all those different views in there, load your template in, give parent-child tasks like we're used to seeing on job site management tools. And again, this is just in the platform as being our customer that we've given you that tool.
For sure.
But you know, then the really big part of that is the sales and marketing piece. The fact is that we've shown the rendered video. We can walk you through this completion of what it looks like.
It's crazy how accurate that is.
Yeah.
So cool.
You know, and then to us, what a really revolutionary tool is the home configure, right? We take that same model, and we're really able to walk you and your homeowner through the ability to start looking interior and exteriorly and beginning to change the configuration.
That's right.
As you and I know, homeowners, they do not understand.
They can't see it.
Yeah.
They cannot see it.
Yeah. So, you know what I love is that we can do it out here on the job site. We can walk this. We can do a virtual frame walk. You know, and in the documents tab, all of the living documents that we have date, time stamped are out here available on the iPad. We can walk through and take a look at it. So
it's amazing.
You know, and crew engagement's much easier. We'll walk through that, but you know, we don't require a password and login. You simply just give them an email or text. They're in the portal, and then of course you can control what they do and don't see. Obviously, you don't want them seeing your financials, but you want them seeing documents and other pertinent job site details. So we put a lot of thought into this as to how you want to run your back office, but also your customer engagement. That's really what the new MyBLDR platform is about, is one tool, one source driving all of your functions out on the job site.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Justin, let's get out of the heat. Let me show you the inside, because you know we haven't framed interior walls yet. We have a slab top insulation detail also from Atlas. they're going to be doing. So I want to show you that. We'll get it a little bit cool for a minute, and we'll check the progress on the skylight from the inside. We'll meet you in there.
Sounds good.
All right, Justin, let's explain for these guys, if they don't realize already or haven't been following the series, why this pile of wood is stacked up here. You want to do it or you want me to?
Yeah, no, this is your interior ready frame. You have a detail where you're actually going to insulate your slab floors, right?
Yep, that's right.
So this is the pre-cut interior ready frame portion of that, waiting for you to put your insulation down, and then we'll build these interior non-bearing walls.
That's right. So everything you're seeing here, which is not much on the inside, these are load bearing. The trusses are set to the load bearing, and then everything here, we're basically in the master bath right now, is just an interior partition wall.
Yep.
While we're in here though, let's show these guys a little bit on my BLDR, the schedule piece, because I think that was a big critical part of this process. I mean, we saved probably 40% of the time framing compared to standard framing.
Yeah.
And if you look at my BLDR here and we go to my schedule tab, you can see we're right on the money. Like, this has worked out beautifully. We took a week off when the crew went to the beach actually last week, so we accounted for that.
Yeah.
But we're only a week and a few days away from trades starting on the inside of the house. So if we continue at this pace, we're going to be somewhere maybe north of 40% faster than a standard framed house.
I would say easily that, yeah. And if we look at the original schedule, I think we're even supposed to be done with framing until the end of July, mid to end of July, and we can see where we are, right?
We're doing great.
We're light years ahead of that.
So the big thing that you guys need to tune into in the future, though, is we start on the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing phases. Justin and I pre-planned with the trades, a lot of services going through these trusses above us here. Let's see how they work out. Justin, I really appreciate you coming out to the job site today.
Job site.
It's a little loud in here. We got screw guns, and we got 8-inch lag bolts from Simpson going on everywhere. Let's keep up the process, and we'll catch up a little bit later. Bill, amazing job, dude. You and the crew absolutely killed this project. We've done a lot of houses together. We've done now several with Monopoly framing, and this is our third time doing this insulated subfloor detail. How do you think this went compared to previous jobs?
Well, you know, each time we do it, it goes a little faster. You know, the critical point is leaving the non-load bearing walls out.
Yeah.
And it went quick. I think we did this in a day.
Yeah.
Second day, maybe just a few little pieces that we had.
It was like an hour and a half on day two. It wasn't bad at all.
No, it was good.
Amazing. Okay, so then let's talk stairs, because where the stairs were in ahead of time, and we talked a little bit about should we subfloor and then stairs or stairs first? What do you think about putting stairs in first?
You know, I mean, I always I'm from the old school. I always like supporting stuff on concrete in the best way possible. I don't see there being any reason why you couldn't set it on top of there, although we chose not to.
I think we made the right choice, frankly, because I think that if you're constantly hitting this, you know, you got a 350-pound person who visits, and you got a china cabinet right here, you might feel some slight motion in the subfloor, right? This is high, super high PSI. I said it earlier in an episode, I think it's 25 PSI foam, which equates to like 3,600 pounds per square foot. That doesn't mean it couldn't deflect a little bit. And so I like having these stairs down to solid. And this episode's not necessarily about this, but I love that you LVL framed these.
Oh yeah, well, it keeps it straight. I mean, it's rigid. We like doing it that way.
It's not going anywhere. 1 1/8" Advantech for sub treads and sub risers. Couldn't think of the term. What else would we have done there, or what do you think about using that?
I mean, we always used to do it in framing lumber, 2x12s or 2x10s, standard OSB. I like this because we know it's not going to move around.
That's right.
It's all glued together. The LVL makes it really stiff.
You can see, I always like to joke that that's purple tears of joy coming out. You can see the purple on the X Factor on the floor above us. That's the 1 1/8".
Yeah.
And I love seeing a little bit of squeeze out on there. Everybody who visits knows, hey, we use that Advantech glue. By the way, they give you a 10-year warranty if you use their adhesive with their subfloor. So that's a squeak-free warranty for 10 years. But honestly, in the years we've been using it, I've never had a problem. Before I met you, Bill, I used a different framer for my first house in town. And I had a problem with 1 1/8" plywood because it rained on me. And here I thought I was using a better product. It was the first time ever using 1 1/8", and all of my seams swelled.
Yeah.
And I did have a couple squeaks on that house, and I had to sand all those seams on that house.
It's problematic.
It was problematic.
Yeah.
And I switched to Advantech, I think on my second house I ever built, 2006 on my own, that is, built on my own. Have never looked back. So they've only been a sponsor for a few years, but I've used their products forever. While we're here, let's go up to the second floor, and I want to make mention of a couple details up there. So we'll meet you upstairs. Bill, the second floor in this house is amazing. I really like it. It feels like a giant living room up here, and having this Advantech X Factor, oh, it's really clean on the job site.
It's nice. Yeah, I really like it a lot.
It is heavy on your crew, though.
Well, it's all heavy. It's different levels of heaviness.
Yeah. This is not a lightweight subfloor. Now, one thing I wanted to mention here, this is not exactly subfloor related, but Bill, these walls that are staggered stud, these came from the Ready Frame package as staggered. I really like them. What do you think?
No, they're great. You know, one side's not touching the other side of the sheetrock, and so you've got that staggered stud. And you know, if you wanted to insulate it, if it were an exterior wall, you could get constant insulation through there.
Yeah. And you know, I forgot to mention it downstairs, but we can show these guys. One thing that we did that was a last minute change was we ended up using some leftover Advantech X Factor on 2 different walls in the showers of both the master and the guest room area. And I really like that detail. I think we should start doing that more often.
Well, it's certainly going to flatten out that wall.
Yeah,
sure.
and also I thought later, someone needs that grab bar. You know, we have an elderly couple that moves in, or,
Good point.
or frankly, the people that buy this in their 40s live here for 40 years. There's a lot of people in this neighborhood that have lived here 30, 40 years. Add that grab bar in the future, and there's real meat in there with that.
Always nice,
3/4.
you know, from a carpenter standpoint, to have something back there to grab a hold of.
For sure. Bill, can't thank you enough. You've been an amazing partner over the years. Don't call him, he's busy with my projects, but he's amazing. I absolutely love Bill and the crew. They've been working with me since I think 2009 or 10 on our first project. We've done a lot of great projects together. Find your own Bill Wood. Don't call Bill, but take a tip from his craftsmanship. Him and the crew did an amazing job. But one thing I want to point out, Bill, is that everything we did here is basically just off-the-shelf parts and pieces, right? We special ordered a Pella window package, but the zip system, the studs, the Ready Frame, everything we did here is kind of normal construction,
It's
right?
all stuff you can get.
And the insulated subfloor detail, it's different, but now this is our 3rd time doing it, and you saw how quick we knocked it out. We maybe did it 30% slower the first time or something. Maybe it took us 2 days instead of a day and an hour. But you get a talented crew, you do something a little different, work with them, you can totally manage these details. And the last thing I want to mention is, Bill, we tried to build this house on a bit of a slightly more modest budget than we normally build on. You know, when we built my house, I built it with all LVL studs and hand-cut roof and all these kind of top-of-the-line choices. We tried to make this a little bit more attainable. I don't know that affordable is the right word, but more attainable. I think we got it. What do you think?
Absolutely. You know, with all the things that we've done a little bit different in terms of the exterior insulation and the insulation and the extra subfloors downstairs, I think what we put on extra, we saved in the Ready Frame.
That's
so
right.
we're tracking really well.
We are on our time.
Moving pretty fast for a custom home.
Yeah, and the last thing I want to mention is all that work that you did, including that insulated subfloor, those are static systems. They're here for the life of the house. So 50 years from now, this Monopoly framing with the zip bar, the insulated subfloor, still going to be doing its job, making this house comfortable, efficient, durable for the life of the home. This isn't like countertops that go out of style in 10 years or cabinets you rip out because they look bad in a few years. This is really stuff that's going to last. So this is worth spending a little bit more on compared to kind of standard construction. But guys, appreciate you following us along. Super fun to finish this framing phase and move on to mechanicals. If you haven't seen the other videos that Bill and I made that we talked about through that framing process, rewind on the series and check it out. It's called the Reisinger Build. You can see it on YouTube. You can see it on thebuildshow.com. Appreciate you guys following along. This is the Reisinger Build in partnership with Builders FirstSource. We'll see you next time on the Reisinger Build.